Hello, thank y'all for joining me for Wife for Life. Hi, ladies. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Yes. Hi. Hello. Welcome to Friday, third Friday's Wife for Life. Hello. Thank y'all for joining me. Yes, we're going to get started shortly. Hey, Kay. Hey, ladies. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Rachel. Hey, ladies. Thank you for joining tonight. We're not going to be long. We're not going to be long. We're not going to be long. But we're going to hit it. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Yolanda. Thank y'all for joining tonight. Thanks for joining. It's exciting. Thank you. Y'all been doing okay with the pandemic? Y'all all been getting your vaccines and making sure you're staying safe. We still have, hey Joyce, we still have to wear our mask, y'all. We still have to be safe because you can still get the virus. You just won't get it real bad, but you can still get it and we can still pass it. Hey, Tammy. So we just want to make sure that you don't put down your guard just because you got the vaccine, right? And so you want to make sure you stay safe. It does make you feel a little bit more comfortable. I will say, as someone that's fully vaccinated, it makes you feel a little more comfortable. It makes you feel like, but you still have to wear a mask, right? So we're going to, listen, over the past couple of weeks, I started this little segment called Going In. And the premise for that was really about in-laws and infidelity. And so tonight I want to just talk a little bit more about that, because what we did was when I kind of introduced the going in concept, within the Wife for Life group, which all of you are obviously in, we started a dialogue where I had some coaches who had gone through in-law challenges and had gone through infidelity, to start a dialogue with some of you about the challenges that you may be having in those areas, or those challenges that, you know, you could possibly have, right? So, y'all, so I'm trying to have Tanya come on, so y'all have to give me a moment, because I want to add her to our discussion tonight. And so, Tanya, if you're listening, go ahead and make a request so I can accept it, because I want to bring you in and ask some questions tonight. Hey, Donna and Laverne. So anyway, back to what I was saying about going in. So we started a dialogue within the Wife for Life group, and we started talking about some of the in-law challenges and the coaches that I had within the Wife for Life group that had gone through in-law challenges, that specifically Tanya was the coach, and infidelity, and Kim Coleman was a coach because that was her marital challenge. There was dialogue. Well, what I want to do tonight is talk a little bit about one of those areas, and it's going to be in-laws. The next time I go live, we're going to talk about the infidelity piece. And I want to be able to just bring someone on so that I can interview them and you guys can ask some questions. So tonight, let's see. I'm trying to figure out where that request is. Heather, I don't see it. Hey, Kim Coleman, if you tell me where it is, for some reason tonight I don't see it. Let me see if I can see it. I don't see it. Let me see. No, I don't see the request anywhere. Let's see. Y'all, I'm trying to invite. Yeah, I don't see that particular request. Yeah, so let's see. I don't know. So, okay. So anyway, again, I want to talk about in-law challenges. I want to give you a couple of examples of in-law challenges, or let me say, in-law relationships, biblically speaking, that have gone well. Many of you know the story of Ruth and Naomi, right? So with Naomi, um, Ruth was married to her son, and her son died. And Ruth loved her mother-in-law so much that she says, I'm going to follow you. Your God will be my God. Even though that was not a blood relative, it was her mother-in-law, and her husband had died. Ruth's husband had died. She still had that kind of relationship with her mother-in-law that she was willing to go with her and follow her. And really, I believe that's what God intends for us to do with our in-laws, to love them so unconditionally that we would be willing to follow them, be willing to listen to them, be willing to be by their side. And the fact of the matter is, Naomi had become a very bitter woman, but Ruth stuck by her side. Then there is a father-in-law example between Moses and Jethro. Jethro was Moses' father-in-law, but he looked out for him. Moses went to his father-in-law Jethro for counsel, for guidance. They had a wonderful relationship. They dialogued a lot, all of that, right? And so they had a wonderful relationship. And so I believe those are two examples of what God wants us to have in our in-law relationships. Hey, Tanya, thank you for joining.
Hey.
And so with that said, y'all, I don't know if y'all can see me, if I'm out of the screen or how this is working, because Tanya's now in here. So I'm going, Donna, tell me, how is it looking? Can you see both of us? Because I've like invited Tanya, and I see you, Donna, that you're watching. Do you see my full face and Tanya's full face? How does that working? Because this is new for us tonight, but we're gonna do this thing. And so anyway, great. Thank you, Tanya Witherspoon. And so the deal is, thank you, Heather. So the deal is, we have examples of what great mother-in-law relationships look like through Ruth and Naomi. We have examples of what a great father-in-law relationship looked like with Jethro and Moses. So, we have examples. But the challenge is, for some reason, many of us struggle with our in-laws. Our sister-in-laws, our mother-in-laws, our father-in-laws, we struggle with that. And I want to put something before you tonight to have you just think about it, right? Listen, in Ephesians, in Exodus, and Proverbs, there are scriptures all throughout the Bible that talk about honor your mother and your father. And my question tonight is, could it be that you have a strained relationship with your in-laws because before you got married, you didn't honor them? And now that has left a bad taste in their mouth because it's never been reconciled. It's never been, talked about. No one has asked for forgiveness. No one has owned what has happened. But the question on the table is, if you are having in-law challenges, could it be that before you got married, you dishonored your in-laws so much so that there's tension in the relationship? Tanya, tell me your thoughts on that.
I think it's a combination of things. That's something that, with hearing you ask that question, I have really had to think about it. With my mother-in-law and I, we were girlfriends before we got married. And, I never really had that conversation with her. That she knew I was dating her son, of course, but I never had that conversation of, hey, we lost that friendship. Because we used to go out. Back in the day, ladies, I used to do clubbing. We all did it. And so we went out together and we would hang out together. But once we got married, it really became about us, husband and wife. And until you just said that, I never really thought about the fact that I walked away from a friendship and
Right.
never gave it another thought.
And you know what's crazy about that, Tanya? Not only did you walk away from a friendship, you took her son with you.
I sure did.
Right. And so she might feel some kind of way.
You're absolutely right. I never thought about it that way.
You know, she might feel some kind of way. And y'all, if you have questions while we're dialoguing, pop your question in, because this is real. Because I think sometimes we think that our in-laws are just, you know, mean and you know, just you know, he was a mama's boy, and all those things may be true. But have you owned your part in it to maybe reconciling the part that you played in it, right? So
That's so
I
cool.
even now I have a lot of couples that we counsel, mostly premarital couples that are living together, right? And they want to know why their, you know, mother-in-law is not feeling them, or why, you know, both sides, the guys and the girls, why my mother-in-law, why my father-in-law is not feeling me, future father-in-law or future mother-in-law. I haven't done anything to them. And then, you know what I asked them? I said, you know, would you mind if your son or your daughter was doing what you're doing? Like, would you be okay with the fact that they living with each other?
That's good.
Would you be? And how about 9 out of 10 say no, I wouldn't be okay with it? I said, well, then maybe they're not okay with it.
Absolutely.
And you need to address that.
Absolutely.
So we are where we are, and we've done what we've done. And so, Tanya, just dialogue a little bit with us on some of the things you've done to kind of, you told us that one thing that you're like, okay, maybe I need to go back and talk to my mother-in-law about this.
Yeah.
But minus that, what are some of the things you've done to overcome your mother-in-law challenges? Because you've shared with me that you know, when you broke the friendship off, she felt some kind of way. There was tension there, and you ain't know what to do.
Right. You know, I really had to get to a place where I had to take my eyes off of my husband in that situation, because oftentimes we attack them. We want them to get it. Look, I'm your wife now. You got to throw your mother and father away. Well, that's not realistic, and you can't ask them to do that. We really shouldn't ask them to do that. And it puts us so much pressure on our marriage, and it brings a lot of just challenges. So what I had to wind up doing was get to a place where I had to go to my mother-in-law, and it was the hardest thing for me to do because so much had transpired, and I had to apologize to her. Now, ladies, let me make sure you understand, this wasn't like, 2 or 3 years after being married. I've been married 34 years this year. This was probably around 20 years, somewhere in there. I went to her and I just apologized. I acknowledged what I did wrong, and not even so much what I did wrong. I was like, you know what? I'm sorry we've had these challenges. I'm sorry, I want us to have a better relationship. Now, of course, I went into it kind of blind and thinking she would react one way, and she didn't. But the end result is now we have a building foundation for our relationship. We're in a better place. We can get back to that before being married situation where we interacted with one another. But I had to do that. And for some of you, I've been talking to you on Facebook, and I cried and I fussed and I just went through all the motions. But finally, God was like, okay, you're either going to do this my way or your way. Which way do you want? And I wanted peace.
Yeah. And the thing is that, you know, sometimes you may feel like it's not your fault. But I guarantee you that if you approach your in-laws with, you know, come from a place of humility, and you say to them, you know what, I'm not sure what's causing the tension.
Absolutely.
But I want us to be unified. Would you forgive me for maybe how I've acted? Because guess what? You may not have done anything, but you may have carried an attitude for a few years or a few months because you don't know what's going on. But hey, let's figure out how we drop the attitude and say, you know what, I don't know what's going on, but I just want us to be unified. Can you forgive me? Somebody asked the question. I'm going to ask them to clarify it, because they said, what about the pathology of the family going against any wedded person marrying into the family? I don't know what that means. If you can clarify that, that would be great. But sometimes people do have a feeling about certain people marrying into their family. But I think even that is worth a dialogue, particularly if it's after marriage. Again, using the same process that Tanya and I were just talking about. it seems like there's some tension, and it has been. And I don't want it to be that way.
No.
And so is there a way for us to establish some sort of unity? Just go in humility
Yeah.
and ask God to do that. And you know what? Y'all, as we're talking about this, we're talking about in-laws, but some of us just need to do this with our husbands.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
just wrong, or you feel like he's been wrong. Can you just go with humility and say, hey, I don't know what has happened, but I just want us to be unified. You know,
You,
go
you know,
ahead.
Reverend Bev, one of the things that really is amazing in our relationship is that it was in-law issues on both sides. And I didn't understand why my dad struggled so much with Patrick. And my mother passed about 2 or 3 years ago now. And so since then, we have had a family meeting. And he came out and he said, now, mind you, again, I've shared with you ladies, been married 30 years. And he said, you took my baby and you
Mm,
never asked
mm.
me.
Ooh,
You never asked me for her hand. And it was amazing to me that he held on to that for that long, because we've been
yeah,
together forever,
right,
but to hear him say it, it was humbling to me. And it made me step back, and I just looked at him kind of shocked, like, are you serious? But it meant a lot to him. So sometimes the in-law issues, it's a conversation. We're doing us, we're doing our lives, and we're not
right,
thinking about how it's impacting everybody else around us.
right. And so I got a little bit of clarification. They were just saying that the family has a pattern of going against fiancés and wives when I guess the men bring them into the family.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be their pattern. But my
Mm-hmm.
question to you, and Tanya, of course, chime in. My question to you is, have you prayed for them? Have you
Absolutely.
shown love to them in spite of their perspective and their way? Have you legitimately, for real, done that? And it's hard, y'all. I'm not saying this is easy. This is tough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When people are treating you mean, the scripture does teach us that love covers a multitude of sins. And so, a lot of times most times things are difficult, and the enemy will test us, but God has given us the grace to handle the situations differently. And we got to leverage that grace, and we got to put our pride aside and be willing to reconcile and be willing to work through whatever the challenge is, even if you feel like it's unfair.
Yes.
Right.
You have to make the decision, and it's a tough one when you're in it and you're up to your neck and you're feeling like the whole family is against you. You have to stop and take a moment and say, is this what I want? Am I willing to fight for my marriage? Not about the family, not fight with the family. I love this man. God brought us together. How can I make this work? And it might require that you humble yourself and take a step back, and you just be the one that bows down and just allow all the drama to go on, and you take it all to God. Your
Right.
husband can't fix it, but God can give you the peace and strength to get through it.
Right, right. And somebody said it ain't your timing, it's God's timing. And
Absolutely.
it does take time. And
Mm-hmm.
and and I think there was another question. Um if your Somebody said if their husband prefers that they not have a close relationship with his mom because he doesn't have a close relationship with his mom. Listen, the first thing you need to do is dialogue with him
Mm-hmm.
about that, because there may be something he
Mm-hmm.
is trying to protect you from, right?
Yes.
Might
Yes.
not be the right way to do it, but you need to dialogue with your husband about why that is the case and really encourage him so that both of y'all can have a closer relationship with his
Yes.
mom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
so yeah, some of us have their grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
We need to really work on these relationships, because that's our child's grandmother or
Yes.
grandfather, right? And we want to make sure that they have a relationship with their grandmother or grandfather in
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And so, ladies, these principles again that we've talked about just don't work for in-law relationships. They work for your current relationship right now. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're saying to you on tonight is be sure that you are willing to be humble, that
Mm-hmm.
you're willing to reconcile, that you're willing to take ownership of your part of the situation, and allow God to work through you on that part that you own, even if it's a small percentage. God can use that small percentage of what you own to make a difference in the lives of those that you are in relationship with, particularly in this case tonight, your in-laws, but again, it works for your husbands too.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you have any closing remarks, Tanya. We normally don't hold the ladies too long, but I wanted to see if you had anything in closing.
I would say to anyone, just in closing, ladies, know that it is worth the battle. And if you are willing to do things God's way and focus your energy on being the best wife that you can be, God will rectify everything else.
Yes.
So find that time and just give it to him. I think that's all you can do.
Yes. And remember this, ladies, your husband is in the middle, right?
Yes.
And I'm talking to the wives tonight because this is Wife for Life, right? But your husband is in the middle. He loves his mom and he loves you. And a lot of times he don't know how to reconcile that. Take the lead. You know, go in humility.
Yes.
And ask, how can you bring unity to the relationship?
Absolutely.
And do just that for the sake of peace and for the sake of having a marriage that will allow you to be a wife for life. So ladies, we can continue this dialogue. You know, Tanya's and myself are available to continue to respond to your questions in the chat if you have more questions. Like I said, the next time we dialogue, I'm going to continue this series, if you will, that I started on going in. And we're going to talk about infidelity. And I know that's a big deal. So be prepared to invite your friends and invite your, family members that may be challenged with infidelity. And we're going to talk about, we'll do something similar. I'm going to have somebody here that has gone through infidelity and can give us some points and some tools and some guidance on how to manage through that, because that is tough. But if you get on the other side of it, God has a major, major blessing for you. So ladies, I love you. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Thank you, Tanya, for being a part of going in to help us deal with our in-laws and being an example that you can establish a relationship, with your in-laws, reestablish or even establish a relationship with your in-laws so that you can, really have the relationship that God intends for you to have. So thank you, ladies. Y'all have a great night. We love you guys.
Good night, ladies.
Don't forget to invite your friends and family to be a part of our Wife for Life group and chat, and all the questions that we ask on Wednesday. Start putting in your comments so we can support each other and we can learn all the things that God would have for us to learn so we can be successful in our marital relationships. So thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks, Tanya.